Order. The chair recognizes himself to order an amendment in the nature of a substitute. The clerk will please designate the amendment.
An amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2693 is offered by Mr. Comer of Kentucky.
Without objection, the amendment is considered as read, and the substitute will be considered as original text for the purposes of further amendment. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes for a statement on the bill and amendment. I am pleased to support H.R. 2693, which authorizes the electronic transfer of D.C. Council legislative action to Congress for review. The current requirement for the hand delivery of physical copies of D.C. Council legislation has created delays in receiving documents and inconsistent timelines between the House and Senate for commencing the congressional review period under the Home Rule Act. This legislation will also save taxpayer dollars and free up staff time in both the district and Congress. I thank Representative Norton for introducing this common sense legislation and urge my colleagues to support this bipartisan bill. I now recognize the ranking member for his statement.
Thank you, Chairman Comer. I also want to first just say and thank Congresswoman Norton for this legislation. We, of course, Democrats strongly support any opportunities to modernize government in a way that makes it more efficient and centers the residents. This bill would amend the District of Columbia Home Rule Act as well as the House and Senate rules to permit the chair of the Council of D.C. to transmit local laws or acts of D.C. to Congress in electronic form. Now, currently, House and Senate practice requires any acts to be passed by the Council and delivered in actual physical hard format copy. Now, this, of course, is outdated and can be costly. Allowing the Council to transmit acts of Congress electronically is a common sense efficiency for the modern era. It will reduce the time and effort required by both Council and Congressional staff to deliver, receive, and process those acts. I want to thank my colleague, Ms. Norton, for this legislation, and I thank the chairman for being a co-sponsor. It's good to have a bipartisan bill in front of us today. This is a reasonable, good government effort by our committee and should be engaged in. I urge all my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back.
I now recognize the chairman of the sponsor of this legislation, Ms. Norton, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank Chairman Comer for co-sponsoring and marking up this bill. This bill brings the congressional review process for the legislation enacted by D.C. into the electronic age by allowing the chair of the D.C. Council to transmit legislation to Congress electronically. The D.C. government supports this bill. The Home Rule Act requires the chair of the council to transmit a bill to Congress for a review period before it can take effect. A bill takes effect after the review period unless a resolution of disapproval is enacted during that period. The Home Rule Act is silent on the form of transmittal, but Congress has always required bills to be transmitted physically. Electronic records are recognized as valid under the federal and state law, and the federal government and state and local governments conduct official business electronically. Federal agencies transmit regulations and other documents to the Federal Register electronically. Congress already conducts some official business electronically. For example, the House permits members, including acting through their staff, to introduce legislation and submit statements to the congressional record electronically. The requirement that the council transmit bills physically imposes unnecessary costs on D.C. The council engages in a 12-step process to transmit bills, including printing 2 copies of each bill and committee reports, arranging a time for delivery of these documents to the offices of the Speaker and President of the Senate, and having 2 staffers drive to the Capitol to deliver the documents. 2 are required because of parking requirements and restrictions. The requirement that the council transmit these bills physically also imposes unnecessary costs on Congress. The following congressional offices and committees are involved in the transmittal progress: the offices of the Speaker and the President of the Senate, the House and Senate parliamentarians, the House Clerk, the Senate Secretary, this committee, and the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs. The difficulty the council has transmitting bills physically had transmitting physical bills during the pandemic, and the January 6th highlights the need for electronic transmittal. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Do any other members seek recognition on the bill? Seeing none,